Greetings and welcome to North Georgia Reese's video series on Google Classroom basics. This first video is going to teach you how to set up a class and load in your students. The first thing that we need to do is actually go to Google Classroom, and of course Google recommends using the Chrome browser. I've found that it works fine in Firefox, and the newest Edge seems to work pretty well as well, but Google Chrome is going to be the best option. And from there you can just browse to classroom.google.com, or if you're logged in, you can also go to your apps listing over on the right hand side, and Classroom should be in the list somewhere there. The first time you go in, it's very likely to ask you if you're a teacher or a student. Please choose the teacher role. If you choose student, it makes it more difficult for your administrators because they have to go in and make some changes to convert you to a teacher. So please choose teacher when you first log in the first time. You may also find that when you log in for the first time, your district may have already created all of your classes for you from the data available in the student information system. And usually this can be accurate. They may have even gone ahead and enrolled your student. But if not, you can create your own class by going over to the right hand side and going to the plus and clicking create or join. Join a class is for joining someone else's class. So you want to drop down to create class, and it'll open up a window and ask you for the class name. I'm going to put in history. And you can put in the other information such as section, subject, or room, or you can leave it blank and come back and put it in a later time if you wish. Once you click create, Google's going to go out and create the class, create a Google Drive for the class, set up a calendar, and all of those things. And then once it's finished, it'll pop you into the class. Now once we're in the class, there are some things to notice about the layout of the class. First, across the top, you'll find that there are about 4 tabs: Stream, Classwork, People, and Grades. We're going to start out on People here in just a minute, so you can go ahead and click there. But you'll also find over on the left-hand side is a hamburger menu. In clicking there, you'll find that there's navigation to some other things that are available. One of the things that I will point out is there's a settings menu, and if you click on that, you'll find that you can go in and change the notifications that you receive from Google Classroom as a whole. This isn't just for this course, this is for everything you do in Google Classroom. So you can go in and change when and how you receive emails. I would suggest starting off with the defaults to start with, but later on you can go and adjust them as you see fit. Going back to the hamburger menu, I'm going to come down to the history class again, and I'll be back in my class. Now notice, because I moved away, I'm no longer on the People tab, so I'm going to click back on the People tab. And this is where I can start making some changes to the class. One of the first things that I may want to do is add another teacher. So I can click on the little invite teachers icon, and I'll have the option to invite a teacher to this class. And so I'll just start typing in their email address, and I'll find there's teacher 1. So I'm going to invite this teacher. And so this is for those situations where you might have a co-teacher or sharing class duties some way. Once they're invited, they'll receive an invitation when they go to Classroom, and they can join in. They can do pretty much anything in your class that you can do except for delete it or archive it. So it gives them the same power to grade and create assignments as you have. You'll find that out beside teacher, there's one of those little 3 dots, or some people call a hot dog menu or something like that. And you can click there and see that you can send that person an email if you need to, or remove them from the course. Just below there, you'll see that there is a students option, and I can invite students the same way that I did teachers. So I click on the invite menu, and I can start typing in a student's name. So I'm going to do student 2. And there's my student 2 that I want to use. So I'm going to click on invite. And now I'll see that that student has been invited. Once that student acts on that invitation, then they'll no longer be grayed out. They'll show up as a student. Now, there's another way that students can get into your class, and that's through the invite code. And you'll see that invite code on the stream page right here, called the class code right here. And out beside it, you have a little display button so you can make it larger so that students can get in there and get it. There's even a full screen mode there that you can make it really big if you need to, so that they can see it full screen. When you close that out, it'll go back to normal. So as a student, I could join that way. So I've got a student set up here, student 1, and I'm going to have them join that way. So they go over to the plus and click on join class, and type that code in and click join. And it should join them to the class. And there we go. We're in the class as a student, and I can go to the people tab there to see what looks different. And here, all I can see is the teacher view right now because there aren't any other students in it, and I can email the teacher if I need to. I'm going to jump back over to my teacher view. And as the teacher now, if I go to people, I'll see that I have some students, a student in and a student that's still invited. And you'll also notice that when student 1 joined, an email address popped up here. This email address is the email for their guardian, and this particular student had already had a guardian set up, so it automatically sent an invitation to the guardian email address. Now, guardians are parents or other guardians that they can't log into Google Classroom, but I can email that person, or I can have reports sent to that person as needed. So if I want to add other guardians, I can click on the 3 dots and invite guardian, and I just type in the email address of the guardian that I need to add. So you can add more than one guardian per student if you want. If you got multiple emails from parents or whoever that need to be on the guardian list. You'll also notice from that list that I can email the student or email the guardians at any time, or I can remove guardians that need to be removed. You'll also notice up at the top of the students list there's an email all guardians. So if I need to send out a mass email to everybody, I can do that right there. I have some more options that are available as set up. If I go over here to the gear, I can click on the settings gear, and you'll see that there's the class details that we set up at the beginning, but I can go through here and add more information about the class if I want. So if I didn't fill out some of these things, I can add more. Then in the next section, you'll see that there's a section for class code. There's the class code that we have, but I can go here and reset that class code and get a different code. So that if I've had an issue where some people are getting into the class that shouldn't be there, or something like that, I can reset the code so that they don't have it. I can also display it from here, or I can copy it from here, or I can disable the code, and that keeps people from getting in that I have not invited. So if you're having an issue with people just trying to jump into your class because somebody shared out the code, just disable the code and they can't do that. I'll also see that there are some options here, such as stream, how students can post and comment. By default, students can post and comment in the stream whenever they want. So what's the stream? If I go over to my student view, I'll see that there's a tab here called the stream. This is where I or the students can post things. Well, as a student, if it's on by default, I can say, hi there, and post it, and anybody can see that posting. I can then come back and delete it or copy it or something like that. And sometimes that can be a bit of a frustration point for teachers, because students can start just having conversations, posting inappropriate comments or things like that. So as the teacher, you can go in and choose whether or not those comments are allowed. You can start off with the most restrictive version, which says only teachers can post or comment. Or you can go and say students can only comment, which means you make all the posts and then they can comment on those posts if you want, or you can have it to where they can post and comment at will. Just remember that the default version is the students can post and comment. Also, you can choose how classwork shows up on the stream page. So you can either have it not show up there and only be in the classwork area, or you can have it show up either condensed or with all the details about it. We talked about Guardian summaries, and this is an example of a Guardian summary. If you click there, you can see what it would look like. And this is a weekly summary that Classroom will mail out if you want. So if you decide that you want those to go out, then you just click this button to turn it on. It's on by default. And all your Guardians will get this summary, so they kind of have an idea of what's been going on. Something new inside of Google Classroom is a grading area. They added this, I think, back at the beginning of the year or so. And it allows you to have an overall grade if you're using just Google Classroom for keeping track of grading. If you've got other grading programs, Student Information System, you may want to leave this set to no overall grade. But you can use this as a rudimentary gradebook if you need to. Once you've made all the changes, you come over here and click Save, and it will save your changes. Now, once you've set up all of your people, got all your students in, then the next area that you might want to check out is the stream area. And the stream area, as I said before, is where you or your students can post things. So you can come up here and make a post. Now, when I click up here, it opens what it calls a card. And I can choose some things about how this is going to lay out. First of all, I can choose to make this post to one class, or I can choose to make it to all of my classes if I want. Just however you want, or I can also send it to just particular students. Now notice the invited student that hasn't yet joined doesn't show up in this list. Then I can type in whatever I want. Welcome students, hope you enjoy the class, like that. And I can also add things to these posts. So I can click here and I can link to something in my Google Drive. I can share a web link. I can share some other file, or I can go to YouTube. So if I click on Google Drive, I'll see that it opens up my Google Drive, and I can grab a document or something like that that I want to use. If I click on Add and go to Link, it'll pop up a little link window that I can type a link in with. If I click on File, it'll pop up an upload area where I can select a file that's on my local computer. Or I can choose a YouTube link and search YouTube for a video such as a brisket video. And should pop up barbecue with Franklin. For some reason, that's always the first one. And so I can add that to my class if I want. So let's say I want to just do a link to google.com and add link. And you'll see there it pops in a link. Now, once I add this link in, the students will be able to click on that link. If I'm using, and I can add more than one thing, if I'm using a Google Drive file, it will automatically set the permissions for me. So even if it's a file that I've not shared with anyone yet, when I put it in here, Google will automatically create the appropriate share permissions so that my students can see it. If I choose a YouTube link, it will probably go ahead and pop in a view for me, but if I'm in one of those districts that restricts YouTube for students, it may show for me. Let's say I'm sitting at home or I've got access to YouTube at work. I might be able to see the video, but when the students click on it, if they're restricted from viewing it, it will still restrict it. Now also over in the right corner here is a post option, and I could just post it right away by clicking the post button, or I can click the drop down and choose a couple of different options. I can schedule the post to happen at a later date, such as whenever I want it, whatever time, or I can save this as a draft. If I'm not finished with it and want to come back and work later, I can save it and then come back later. If I'm sending to more than one class at a time, the option to schedule is not available. So keep that in mind. I'm just going to go ahead and post this, and you can see that it pops up. Hey, welcome students, hope you enjoy class, like that. Now if I were to jump over to my student view, I would see that it may not have shown up right away. I may have to refresh. Once I refresh though, there it is. I can see it, and as a student, because I have the ability to comment, I can comment on it. Now if you have commenting turned on and don't like what a student is posting, you have the option of going in and deleting that comment, and or you can mute a student. So you can tell that student they can't make any more comments until you unmute them later on. So those are some options. You'll also see something that they've added in is the ability to move something to the top. So if there's a post that you made a week ago and you need it to be at the top so kids pay attention to it, click move to the top, and it will do that for you. Now you can use the stream to post all kinds of information to your students. So you can use it to post announcements, you can use it to start discussions, you can use it to also post videos or other things that they need to watch and things like that. But the stream is really kind of an ungraded area. To get into the graded stuff, we would need to move to the classwork tab, and that tab we'll take a look at in the next video. So join me for that, and you'll find out how to create and grade assignments. Thank you very much.